Chinese business owners, suppliers, manufacturers are exposing Western companies for their business practices by how they manufacture and how they supply products with very little cost, but with huge returns. Now, not only are they doing that, but they're actually telling you how to go directly to the suppliers who make these products so you can get them even cheaper. And they're exposing the luxury fashion companies who, by the way, I used to work for one. We can talk about that. They pay Chinese factory workers to basically, construct a very expensive handbag, and they'll construct 90% of it. The handbag will cost $5,000. They ship it off to a country like Italy or France or America, where they finish off the product, and then they can legally claim that it was made in America or Italy or France. Now, I just want to quickly show you this video.
Who are the suppliers behind Lululemon? Some of their yoga wears are actually from Xianglong Clothing and Huangqisheng Clothing. And guess what? Both factories located in Yiwu here. And these two factories also supply clothing for Fila and Under Armour. I guess most of you know the price of Lululemon or other big brands. They sell you a legging pants for $100. And guess what? Here in these two factories, you can get them for around $5 to $6. Crazy! And what's even better? The material and the craftsmanship are basically the same because they all come the same production line. See, this is why people come to China and looking for the OEM factory, because they just can get the cheapest and best quality product from there and sell you, I don't know how much.
Now, these videos are literally getting billions of views, and they're dominating social media everywhere right now. But along with this, we're actually getting, some social commentary as well from lots of Chinese people, not just Chinese people in China, but people who are living around the world who are exposing capitalism and inequality. And it's pretty much taken over social media so much. I cannot scroll after 5 videos, and it's just another one of these videos, another one of these. But I want to introduce you to a guy called Grumpy Chinese Guy, and that's what he calls himself.
They rob you blind and you thank them for it. That's a tragedy. That's a scam. That's why I'm saying this right now. Americans, you don't need a tariff. You need a revolution. For decades, your government and oligarchs ship your job to China. Not for diplomacy, not for peace, but to exploit cheap laborers. And in the process, they hollowed out your middle class, crushed your working class, and told you to be proud while they sold your future for profit. And yes, China made money, but we used it to build roads, lift millions out of poverty, fund healthcare, raise living standard. We reinvested in our people. My family also benefited from it. What did your oligarchs do? They bought yachts, private jets, and mansions with golf course driveways. They manipulate the market, dodged tax, and poured billions into endless wars. And you get stagnated wages, crippling healthcare cost, cheap dopamine, debt, and flag wave property made in China while they pick your pocket. For 40 years, both China and the United States benefit from the trade, the manufacturing, but only one of us use that wealth to build. This isn't China's fault. This is yours. You let this happen. You let the oligarchs feed you lies while they made you fat, poor, and addicted. Now they blame China for mess they made. I don't think so. I don't think you need another tariff. You need to wake up. You need to take your country back. I think you need a revolution.
I don't even know how to respond because I feel like that read is just so beyond accurate. Now, not for what do you make of this? Because China, as we know, is not exactly a leftist, anti-capitalist utopia, but this guy he's right?
I genuinely, I could have listened to him forever. I genuinely could. He could have spoke for another 3 hours and I would have said, yes, sir, invoke the spirit of your communist history, Chairman Mao, and say whatever the hell you want to. Because you can tell this is not coming from a perspective of disdain. He's pissed off. He's annoyed. He's telling people that, hey, they are fucking you over and we are, China is not a utopia, but China is an image of what the world can be. State subsidies, public banking, high-speed rail at the discretion of state direction. It's a command economy, which has worked in many ways. And no one is saying that there are definitely not things wrong with China. Of course there are. But the very fact is you have a large percent of the Chinese population which have benefited from the policies right now because except for American capitalism, at least the Chinese elite know that one of the ways that you can keep people subservient is if they just improve their quality of life, and they have. I genuinely do not understand why anyone would not listen to what the guy is saying, because he doesn't have any political affiliation. What it does remind me of, especially the factory clips that you showed at the beginning. I'm from Pakistan. My parents are, but I was born here, and for a long time I had been saying, "Hey, when I go there, you can get these your same quality goods for about 4 rupees, 5 rupees, because it's the same thing. You just have the label slapped on, which is a massive markup and a massive margin. No one wanted to believe me. It's China. It's cheap labor. It's low skill. They must make the factories elsewhere. And it shows how disconnected people are from how their products are actually made. And they buy into this idea that Western hands are making this and it's somehow better. The truth is, your jobs are going to the global south. There are many skills in China, which is why places like Apple go there. You know, we had the Chinese century of humiliation, right? We had a China that was decimated by Japanese imperialism, and we had a China that just didn't grow. It didn't have anything going for it. And now what we are seeing is the Chinese century of prosperity, right? And they are making leaps and gains in things. And what I find interesting is people will hold on to this idea that the capitalism that comes out from the UK and the US is far superior to the type of capitalism that we see in China from a command economy, or at the very least nationalization or subsidization or public banking and things like this. But these sort of videos are really breaking people's perceptions of what an economy could look like in terms of policies, and the fact that they've been being rubbed blind, not from outside their countries, but from capital, wherever it exists.
He hit the nail on the head that all of these people have shipped jobs off and just told us different lies. And there has been this crossover now. There used to be like the media people, then there used to be, you know, the retail billionaires and stuff like that. But they are kind of coming together because obviously you've got Jeff Bezos, who's kind of obviously trying to buy TikTok right now, along with the fact that he owns Twitch and obviously Amazon and a few other things. You've got Elon Musk, who was obviously manufacturing. Now he owns social media and obviously SpaceX. So all of these like tech billionaires, because they've grown so big, they're crossed over in all of these spaces right now. And it's them who benefit from telling, poor people in the US or wherever they are in the world that the reason that they're so poor and things are so bad is because of, another group of poor people who are taking things away from you, when we all know in reality who the actual enemy is, right?
It's incredibly damaging towards the American elite to see an empire in decline. And it's very damaging to admit that it was neoliberalism that sold off their manufacturing capabilities, and tariffs won't bring back that nationalist manufacturing that you want. Manufacturing is a long process, it takes skilled labor. I'm all for bullying capital owners to come back to the US and create jobs. However, in the way that Trump is doing it, it's simply not feasible. What you need is industrial strategy. What you need is not allowing the markets to interfere like we let them, or Thatcher let them, and we need state nationalization. And like the guy said, this is the fault of corporations and capital. Your enemy isn't China, it is capitalism. I find it incredibly funny that they have retained some of the elements that we sold off and they have thrived. And you have people in the US calling subsidization cheating. You have people in the US calling planned economies cheating, or at least a mixed hybrid model cheating. You have people in the US essentially saying that when Apple wants to manufacture within China, not because specifically of labor costs, that is one thing, it's very cheap there. The labor costs in China are not the best, but they also have built up a skilled manufacturing set. These are all things that you can do with the type of developed economies that we have. However, we just don't want to, because the truth is it's less profitable to bring that manufacturing back at home. And America is simply just struggling to try and save face by trying to say that actually it's the Chinese that are cheating. And like JD Vance said, they're peasants. Sorry, China's century of humiliation is done. You cannot red scare for so much longer.
Yeah, there was also that other clip that's been going around. I don't know if anybody else has seen it. I wish I actually would have grabbed it, where it was, I think, some sort of Chinese official in an interview with someone from a British
I
broadcasting
think it was
somewhere.
Channel
Like,
4 maybe.
yeah, do you know which one I'm talking about? Where
Yeah.
they're like, "Well, what about you? What about your exports to the US or something like that?" And he was just like, "We don't care. China has been around for 5,000 years. They make up 10% of our exports, and China will continue to be China. I'm not exactly giving the clip justice, but if you know which one I'm talking about, and I thought it was actually quite a powerful clip because obviously Trump just thinks that they're going to absolutely bow down to Trump just thinks China's absolutely going to bow down to them, but in actual fact, I think Xi Jinping's in like Vietnam today. He's doing like a Southeast Asia tour to shore up trading there. And then on top of that, over the weekend, he stopped the export of like 8 or 9 like very essential like minerals and stuff like that, which are essential to tech, aerospace, manufacturing, and it's almost like Xi is like because that doesn't just punish the US, it punishes lots of countries. But obviously, that's going to put pressure on the US if China's just like, fine, you want to try and punish us? Well, we're going to punish the world too by not exporting these essential like minerals and stuff. Just on what you were talking about and bringing the manufacturing back, there was an interview today, I think it was on the Daily for the New York Times, where this woman who was on what's the show where where you like go before the entrepreneurs and you like give them a bid, like what's it called? Dragon's Den, but I think it's called like Shark Tank or something like that in America. Anyway, so she started a business on there, and she was explaining today that she already purchased $200,000 of her product that is made, and she owns the product. She's not just buying product and just selling crap on the market. It's her product. She designed it. It's made in China. And she bought like $200,000 worth months ago. It's ready now. She now has to pay 145% tariff. So that's $490,000. The only way she can afford that is to take out a loan, which she cannot afford. Her business loans that she did to make this company are already leveraged against her house. So she can't actually take out more loans. And then on top of that, obviously Trump would be very happy about this. She was considering, oh, can I bring my manufacturing to the US? Is this just going to be the easiest answer? And as soon as she looked into it, she hit a million roadblocks. So firstly, the molds of her product are in China and they're owned by that manufacturing company. So she would have to get new ones from another company, which would immediately take 4 to 6 months. And then she has to acquire a space, acquire people, and then obviously acquire the manufacturing machines, which guess where they're made? They're made in China. So they would cost 145% more on the tariff. And then the experts who know how to set up this machinery and run this machinery and even teach people how to create these products are in China. So it's basically impossible for even to her to move her manufacturing here. And she just says, if this isn't solved, I'm just going to go under in 6 months. And that's like every other business right now.
You saw even with the CHIPS Act under Biden, for those who are unaware, the CHIPS Act was essentially a way to bring back manufacturing to the US, and specifically Taiwan and China are really good at creating semiconductors, which are essential for different types of electronics and software and basically homeware electronics that you may use in your laptops or military, it even goes to military stuff, but it's mainly for homeware appliances. Now, Biden's CHIPS Act basically offered big tax breaks for semiconductor companies in places like Taiwan to move manufacturing to the US. And they did. However, what they found was there was no population found in America that could operate with the skill or knowledge set of semiconductor manufacturing, because not only is manufacturing a years-long process, and actually what they had to do, funnily enough, was actually bring Taiwanese workers over. About, I think it was 75% of their workforce were basically Taiwanese. But you also have to invest in the human capital and the social capital to build up education and incentivize people on the ground that may be working class to go and get skilled in these places. And Trump is simply not doing that. And you cannot do that. You cannot freeze grants and research grants to universities who have historically helped you win things like the space race. The space race, by the way, innovative technology created by the military, which was touchscreen, which was later found for the iPhone, was created through research and development and things like public-private partnerships, with a heavy emphasis on the public. So you cannot bring back manufacturing without having some level of socialist principles or even some progressive principles that invest in education. But we all know that Trump's voter base and his policies rely on uneducated people because there is not gender ideology being taught in universities. What's being taught in universities is very much the truth of how the world works. And the American Republican Party thrives on people not being class conscious and not being educated to do that.
Support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.